Hello, my name is Raymond Benj, and I'm going to be teaching this class. Welcome to Stars and Galaxies, Physics 1403. So, the textbook that we'll be using for this class, since everybody wants to know, is Universe by Geller, Friedman, and Kaufman. Actually, knew Kaufman at one point. He died a long time ago, and then Friedman took over. Now Geller's taken over. It's actually a pretty good book. We'll be doing the second half of the book. So this class was originally considered as the second semester class, but then students, can take it in any order. And so I do not assume you've already had the first half of the book. And so if you look in the syllabus, what you'll notice is that when I set up the syllabus here, when I set up the syllabus, then I've got the book listed, but the schedule on the syllabus starts at the end, well into the book, second half of the book. Then we go back and cover things in the first part of the book. So, in fact, actually, first week is mostly first part of the book stuff, because we're going to be talking about material, this background stuff that you need to understand the things in the second half. So we're going to be picking up the first half of as we need it, the things you need in there. So if you have not had the solar system class, no big deal. We'll be covering the same material in here. A couple of students I saw on the roll are actually enrolled in both the solar system class and stars and galaxies in the same semester, and so y'all are going to get this twice. You'll see it twice. So you'll see it two times. You'll see the exact same material. So it'll be kind of an overlap in there. In the syllabus, you'll notice that I've got a schedule here, basic sort of things about the class. You need the textbook, read that. You also are going to need this. The technical term for this object is a planisphere. I sometimes just call it the star wheel, because if you look at it, it's like, oh, well, that's what it is. It looks like a wheel with stars on it. The way that you use this is you adjust it, you can turn it, and then hold it up and look at and turn it and look in a different direction, or if you face to the south, turn it and look that way. And what you would see is that this would show you roughly what the sky looks like. So you can use it to identify stars and constellations. There'll be a lab you'll be doing over the course of the semester. It'll be a take-home lab. At the end of the semester, you'll have to have identified several stars and constellations. So what you do is we'll use this, and we'll be learning how to use it in the first couple weeks of the semester. So don't expect to know how to use it just yet. But then once you know how to use it, you can start adjusting it and then see what the sky looks like. Now, that's going to be one of the things you'll be needing, is to use that. We'll be using it in one of the very first labs, and in this lab that takes over the course of the semester. The other thing we'll be doing in terms of labs is you'll have a handful of labs that you'll be doing with the computer. This is using a program called Stellarium. You'll install Stellarium on your computer, and then the labs work you through using Stellarium. It's what we call planetarium software. It does a similar thing to what the star wheel does. It shows you what the sky looks like. Different days, different times of day, and different locations. And so it's a very useful and very, very robust program. The more you learn about it, the more you learn that it can do. And then you'll need a calculator to use for some of the labs. Now, let me explain how the labs work. In the regular semester, what we would have is we do like half the lab on campus, and then half the lab as a take-home using the Stellarium. So we're doing it the same way online. We've split the lab into two smaller labs instead of one big massive lab. And so about every couple of weeks, there's a Stellarium lab that's due. And then every week, there's going to be a weekly lab that's due that's going to be somewhat related to the material we're talking about in class at that time. And then there'll be a handful of these take-home labs. One of the labs you'll be doing is going out and just counting stars. So you'll be counting stars and looking at them up in the sky. And so that'll be one of the labs you'll be doing that explain why you see what you see. Another lab you'll be doing is watching the sun rise and set. So you watch the sun rise and then watch the sun set, and the other part of the sky you don't have to do on the same day. But you need to do that. And then the third take-home lab they'll be doing will be actually going out and watching and looking at individual stars and constellations, making measurements on them. Now, I won't explain what those measurements are just yet because it won't make sense. It's not going to make sense until we cover this in lecture. So then we'll talk about that. So those are the labs. Now, there'll be a handful of those short papers that I want you to write too. You learn a lot by just keeping track of the news. And so the short papers are not just go out and look in Wikipedia, but they are look at current news items about astronomy. And in fact, if you've been watching the news over the last week, there's been a lot of things showing up in the news this past week in the mass media, CNN, Fox, USA Today, Dallas Morning News, etc., about astronomy topics. This actually happens every now and then. And so keeping your eyes and ears open, and when you see something, write a 1 or 2 page summary of what you see plus bibliographic citation. You are in college, so you do bibliographic citation. And then what you'll do is submit that online. Okay, and so you'll get those turned in, and then that'll be some points that you can do. You'll be able to generate. The labs have points. The stellarium-based labs, the computer-based labs are 10 points apiece. The weekly labs are about 15 points apiece. You have a variety of different ways of getting points. Extra credit if you happen to be bored middle of the night and you're just looking through documentaries on TV or Netflix or whatever. Watch a documentary about astronomy and write a summary of it and turn it in. If you've got binoculars and you want to actually look at something in the sky, we'll talk about this in class a little bit later about what sort of things you can look at, but there are certain sort of astronomical events that you can see in the sky with just binoculars. Go ahead and do that. If you happen to know someone with a telescope, you can actually do observations with a telescope. Submit that. Okay, there'll be a variety of things that you can do for extra credit. If you go to a planetarium or an observatory, I tell people that every semester. Now, right now, there's travel restrictions with the coronavirus. A lot of places aren't really doing public shows right now, but they've actually moved online. So McDonald Observatory in West Texas has done public nights online. And some planetaria have been doing public shows online. And so you can attend one of these online shows and then write a summary of it and turn it in for extra credit. You can also do a TED Talk or some kind of lecture in astronomy, turn that in for extra credit. And so there's a variety of things you can do. I only take 2 extra credit assignments per week. So that means you cannot put them all at the end of the semester. You can start right now and start turning in extra credit things. And then there'll be tests. Tests are bigger sort of things, about 100 points for the test. The final is going to count double, so 200 points. Now, at the end of the semester, what I do is I add points. All I do is add points. And so I add up all the points, and if you get this many points, 700 points, you're going to get an A in the class. Some students actually get an A in the class before the final exam. In which case, if they don't take the final, they get a 0, which adds 0 to whatever grade they've got, and they still have 700 points. And they still have enough points to get an A. So once you get an A, you don't need to do any more. Now, that's with one exception. There are a few people in the class who are concurrently enrolled in high school, and you want to actually get as many points as possible so that you don't just get an A, you get an A+. And so just keep on generating points. I don't subtract anything. I just add. So you just keep adding on points in there. Now, some people do better with the more mathematical stuff, and so you can do a few extra mathematical things for extra credit. Some people do better with the writing, so you can do more of the writing things here, get more points that way. Some people do really well with the tests, just nail the tests. Some people write better than they take tests. So I've got an option here. if you would like to write a term paper, that term paper could replace a test grade. It's optional, but it's a really good idea to go ahead and do this, because then if you just happen to have a bad test day, then that would take the place of it. A term paper, this is a term we use in college. The term is the semesters. This is like a semester paper. This is not a paper you write in a week. This is one you work at over weeks and weeks and weeks to write a good paper. And so you need to clear the topic with me. I'll be posting stuff about that on Blackboard. Then you need to write the paper, turn it in. Okay. Then what I will do is, if the paper is higher than your lowest test grade, it replaces the test grade. Or if it's lower, if you're doing really lousy in the term paper and it's lower than your test grades, it just doesn't count. So what I do is I basically drop the lowest of the paper or half the final or one of the tests. Okay, so all you do happens to add. The only exception to that is if you plagiarize the term paper. Okay, or if you cheat on a test. Then what happens is, instead of dropping the lowest, I drop the highest grade, and then whatever grade you get in the class is reduced by one letter grade. So, doing bad work on the paper doesn't hurt you. Doing bad on an exam can be replaced by a paper, unless you cheat. If you cheat, that's worse. Okay, so don't cheat. All right, so don't know if there's a lot more I need to say here about just the introductory stuff. There's a lot of stuff here that's in the syllabus, and that will give you a lot of information that will help you get going with the class. So y'all go ahead and start this. The lectures will be videos I'll be posting on YouTube like this. Some of them I'll use from previous semester that I taught this, because they're still good. Some of them will be brand new ones like I'm doing right now. And so what you'll do is you'll watch the videos. There'll be discussion board each week about what you saw and learned in the videos. You'll get points for that. And then, of course, the other sort of things that go with the class. So I'll also have a couple times a week some live sessions that are basically like question and answer sessions that you can meet with me online and with the rest of your classmates, ask questions, get answers. I tape these things. What I've discovered in previous semesters is the students that actually attend the Q&A sessions typically do better in the class because they're getting a little bit of live instruction that way. So think about it. I'll be posting times of those coming up here. Classes actually technically start on Tuesday, so that's when I'll start letting you know when those sorts of things are available. So hope you enjoy the class. And there's a lot of stuff that's kind of going on here, getting started with the class. Most of the time, people look at it and say they get kind of overwhelmed like the first week, but then they get into the role of it, and then it gets a lot easier. So that seemed to work in the previous semester when we did this online, so I expect it to work this way as well. So good luck, and I'll be seeing you later.